Okay, imagine this for a second. You're out there, maybe way off grid, finally doing that big hike you planned.
Hmm.
Or maybe closer to home, some freak weather event knocks out the power, takes down the local cell towers. You grab your phone, this super advanced piece of tech, right? Expecting connection. And nothing, just no service. That feeling.
Yeah, that no service screen. It's like the Achilles heel of modern life, isn't it? That moment connectivity just vanishes, usually when you really need it. So today we're digging into the sources around the launch of the new Xiaomi 15T Pro. And yeah, sure, the reports talk about all the usual stuff, advanced best.
Faster processor, better camera, yawn.
Exactly. But the thing our sources kept coming back to, the real kernel here, is this one, well, potentially revolutionary feature.
Right. A feature that basically says to the whole network infrastructure, I might not need you right now. Oh, we're talking about this ability it supposedly has for emergency communication, specifically when there's absolutely no cell signal, 0 bars. So our mission today, let's take this source material, the spec sheets, the launch chatter, and really figure out what this means, this integrated off-network lifeline. Okay, let's unpack it. Is this just marketing fluff, or is it like a genuine shift in how we think about phones? So first things first, the launch happened. Xiaomi 15T Pro is official, and like you said, the spec sheets are out. Latest chip, probably great camera, fast charging, all that jazz. That's the baseline, right? Yeah. But before we get to the survival stuff, what did the sources actually mention about these advanced specifications? Like, what kind of phone are we dealing with before it turns into an emergency gadget?
That's a really good point because, the fancy emergency feature.
Yeah.
It probably needs a pretty high-end phone to support it in the first place.
Yeah.
So the advanced specs mentioned, they imply, the newest mobile chip, fast, power efficient, probably a pop-tier camera sensor, big bright screen, high refresh rate, the usual flagship goodies. But the way the source material frames it is interesting. It's like they list the standard cool stuff almost as context.
As a lead-in.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's a powerful phone, but let's talk about the real story.
Yeah.
Suggests the main event, the big innovation they're pushing, is this off-network emergency thing.
Yeah.
Which is, that's a bold move for a phone maker, isn't it? Betting the farm not on the everyday stuff, speed, photos, games, but on a feature you genuinely hope you never, ever use.
It's the ultimate insurance policy, baked right in. And that brings us to the key phrase, communication without a network. For you, the listener, what does that mean practically? Well, first off, reliability. Think about emergencies, big disasters, even just massive crowds. What happens? Cell networks get totally overwhelmed, right? Everyone trying to call at once, or they get damaged. This feature, it seems designed to just sidestep that whole problem. It bypasses that critical point of failure.
Yeah, it's straight up preparedness tech. But okay, playing devil's advocate here, is this truly revolutionary or is it just clever marketing? Because, satellite messengers, PLBs, personal locator beacons, they've been around for ages, dedicated devices. What makes putting it inside the phone so special that Xiaomi, or anyone, would hang their hat on it?
That's the key question. I think it comes down to two things, integration and accessibility. See, before, if you wanted that true off-grid comms, you had to buy a separate device, a Garmin InReach, something like that. Think about the hassle. Another thing to buy, another thing to carry, another thing to charge.
Another thing to forget at home.
Exactly. By building it into the phone, the thing you already carry everywhere, they just erase all that friction. It basically democratizes this high-level survival tech. Makes it available to, well, potentially millions more people. It shifts the phone from just being, a communication and entertainment tool to potentially being a core piece of your safety kit.
Okay, but we need to dig into the how a bit because the sources are kind of vague, right? They just promise no network communication. But how they actually do that changes things for the user, doesn't it? It seems like it's got to be one of two ways, or maybe a mix. Either satellite connection or some kind of direct phone-to-phone mesh thing.
Precisely. We have to speculate a bit here based on, physics and engineering. Option 1, satellites. Connecting to those low Earth orbit satellites, the LEOs like Starlink or what Apple's doing with Globalstar, that needs totally different antennas in the phone. Ones that can actually track fast-moving satellites. That means specialized hardware and, crucially, a lot of battery power.
Oh yeah, the battery hit would be huge. Your phone battery is designed for, checking Instagram, maybe some calls, not blasting a signal to space. If it is satellite-based, those advanced specifications they mentioned better include some serious breakthroughs in battery tech. Or maybe like a separate battery just for the emergency comms.
Could be. It definitely raises questions. If it is satellite, how much bigger or heavier does the phone get? The sources just say advanced, but sometimes advanced tech means bulky tech, at least initially.
Okay, what about the other possibility? The device-to-device mesh network idea, where your phone talks directly to another nearby phone and they relay the message along like a bucket brigade until it reaches someone who does have signal or emergency services.
That's a fascinating route, too. Possibly proprietary tech. Mesh networking doesn't need the raw power of satellite signals, which is good for the battery, but it totally depends on other people being nearby with compatible phones. If you're alone on a mountaintop, mesh doesn't help you one bit. If you're in a city after an earthquake knocked out the towers, though, mesh could be amazing for local communication, finding people, coordinating.
Right. So the tech choice has massive implications. Satellite gives you that true anywhere coverage, but it's power hungry and complex.
Yeah.
Mesh is maybe more power efficient, great for populated areas in a disaster, but useless if you're isolated. And the sources, they're not telling us which trade-off Xiaomi made. They're just selling the outcome.
Exactly. They're promising the what without detailing the how. And that choice, satellite versus mesh, it speaks volumes about who they think the target user is or what scenario they're prioritizing. And zooming out, this whole move, this focus, it feels like a turning point for the industry. For years, flagship phones competed on, slightly faster chips, megapixels, things that offered, frankly, diminishing returns for most people. Now, it seems like the new competitive frontier is survival, functional safety, resilience when things go wrong.
Yeah, they're betting that the promise of staying connected when the grid fails is actually a stronger selling point now than, say, shaving a millisecond off app loading time.
I think so. It changes the whole value proposition.
It totally reframes how you, the consumer, should even evaluate a new phone. Right? It's not just how good is the camera or how fast is it. Now it's also, okay, but how likely is this thing to save my life if everything goes sideways? You have to weigh that potential lifeline against maybe slightly better performance on another brand.
And think back to those dedicated satellite messengers. Why shell out hundreds for a separate gadget if your phone could do a basic version of that job? It pulls that niche survival market right into the mainstream. It's preparedness meeting consumer electronics.
And what about beyond just individuals? Think about emergency services, maybe aid organizations working in remote places. Could a mass market phone like this actually become a viable, affordable tool for them, replacing more expensive specialized gear?
Potentially, yeah. The scale Xiaomi operates at means they could bring this tech down to a price point that dedicated safety device makers just can't touch. That could seriously shake up the whole market for emergency beacons and satellite phones. It really is about democratizing that ability to communicate independently.
It also makes you wonder, though, are phone makers basically admitting defeat on universal connectivity? Like, are they acknowledging that getting reliable 5G or even just basic signal everywhere and keeping it stable against, climate change, cyber attacks, whatever, is maybe harder than they thought? Building phones that assume the network will fail, that suggests a certain lack of faith in the centralized systems we rely on.
That's a sharp take, but I think there's truth in it. This move towards built-in resilience, it feels like an admission of fragility, maybe. Global fragility. When we talk about being prepared, we usually mean water, food, first aid. Now, it seems like preparedness has to include decentralized communication tools. This phone is kind of the physical proof that the market sees that now.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive on the Xiaomi 15T Pro launch. Sources confirm it's got the advanced specs we expect from a flagship. But that's not the story. The absolute core focus, the big news, is this built-in capability for emergency communication completely off the network grid.
Yep, and that feature really changes the game. It redefines what makes a phone flagship or advanced. It's shifting the focus from just speed and entertainment towards practical safety, resilience. It makes the phone a potentially crucial piece of your personal security setup, ensuring you have a way to reach out when traditional systems are down, whether that's a huge disaster or just, getting lost hiking.
So here's the final thought to chew on, building from these sources. If mainstream phones are now aggressively marketing off-grid communication, what does that signal about the industry's confidence, long-term, in our big, centralized communication networks? And for you, when you buy your next piece of tech, should that core the ability to function when everything else breaks, become your number one priority? Does it force us all to rethink what's a necessity versus just a nice-to-have luxury? Something to think about until our next deep dive.